We go to the next type of online transaction, which is a timesheet. And what you see in the timesheet might be a completely blank timesheet that, like we have here. It might be a timesheet that includes some time that has come from the leave request system. But anyways, if they come into a timesheet, they might see time that is completely white, completely blank. They might see time that is in this orange color here, which will show them time that's been previously approved through the leave request system. They may choose to use a template. So if you actually, if you're doing consistent kinds of things, employees can go through and create templates for themselves, and then they can load those templates in and or save those templates. Go load a project accounting template, and it may look something like this, where it's basically put the standard time in. They're now doing exception entry as opposed to entry from the ground up. So with the timesheet, you've got control over lots of little things. If I'm a manager and I'm only seeing, maybe 4 or 5 lines, I want to see a reasonably simple timesheet. If I'm more of a project resource, I may want to see 10 at a time, 20 at a time. We do support pagination that allow them to kind of, go through and add in additional lines if you need more. The system does things like auto saving, all of those types of things. So at the end of the day, lots of control and flexibility in what you physically see, as well as what is physically on your timesheet. When you're sitting there looking at a timesheet, let me just go reload some time into the system here. You'll see that the type of time that we can capture follows very closely to what's there in the project accounting. We can capture time, we can capture equipment. It ties directly into the project access controls that are inside a GP. So if Randy Bozeman has access to projects, he'll see his list of projects. If Terry logs in, he'll see his list of projects, that kind of thing. You can go through, pick, select them. You can start typing in little bits, pieces, and use the type heads. Lots of different ways to kind of go through and capture the information for the work that you're doing. Grabs their default pay code based on what we have set up, but you can go through and pick other types that we've set up as applicable. Maybe they have a bunch, but they can't go through and select them. In this case, they're allowed to pick a couple time banks and a couple regular and overtimes. Knows their default departments, and they can go through and start capturing their time along with notes. So, as an employee, they go through and they start capturing the, there we go. So as an employee, I go through, I put in my time, I can save it on a day-by-day basis. When I'm happy with it, I go through and I submit it. By default, it knows who I'm supposed to be. This is, again, something I can turn on, turn off, but by default, when you're doing project types of things, you sometimes have different people who do approvals. Might be Jerry approves these 3 projects and Tim approves these 3 projects. By default, it takes my approver, and I can go through and override that and say, yeah, I need this to go to this approver or whatever. That's who's responsible for approving my time in this project. And as I mentioned, that is configurable. You can turn that off so employees cannot override or change that. Okay, so we put in our timesheet. At some point in time when we're happy, we can go through and submit that timesheet.